Yo, what's up guys? We're back for another UFC breakdown and predictions video. This week it's for a huge one. It's UFC 290 International Fight Week 2023. Pretty pumped for this. We got kind of a Mexican showcase with two Mexican champs looking to keep their belts and unify their belts. And man, the card is pretty good overall. I'm a pretty big fan of it. There's been some kind of change-ups with the Bo Nickal fight and the fight with Jack Della, so that's a little bit disappointing, but it's still a good card. There's a lot of fun talent. Should be some finishes and a pretty high-octane type of fight card to me, and definitely excited for it, like I said. So if you're interested in some bets, man, I got a few bets already, and this week I am going to be doing a free trial, free promotion, 7 days free. So if you go over to patreon.com/MAPredictionGuru, you sign up, you can get access to, I have a full PFL Europe 2 breakdown. I'm going to put some breakdowns and bets out for LFA potentially, and I already have a couple bets for UFC. We'll add a few more. So definitely go over there, check it out. Free trial, so you can have access to all those bets, all those breakdowns for 7 days. So you'll probably have access to some for next week as well. So definitely go over there, check it out, see if you enjoy it for free. Support the channel, make some money this weekend, and let's cash some bets. But let's get in this first fight of the night here. We got the first fight of the night is one between Kirk and Esteban Ribovics, and this is a fight that's in the lightweight division. Both these guys used to fight at 145, so I guess they've made the decision to stay up at 55s. With Kirk, he didn't fight at 55 before this in the UFC, but Esteban Ribovics went up and fought at 55 in his first fight, and I think this is a good matchup overall because Ribovics is a guy that definitely is fun to watch. He's a guy that goes in, he throws punches and bunches, he closes the distance, very aggressive, and on the ground he has pretty good scrambles as well. He'll use the Kimura to sweep, he has good back takes, and he stays active. He'll throw to all parts of the body. We saw against Loic Radzhabov, he hurt Radzhabov to the body pretty badly, almost finished him off. And on the feet, I think his pressure and his punches and bunches are going to give Kirk trouble because Kirk is a guy that kind of is 1, 2, and done. He likes to be more standing, like real flat-footed, and try to sit down on his shots and catch you with a big 3-2 or a big pull 2 and sit you down. He has decent leg kicks as well, but he's not necessarily going to be able to match the volume, and I think that he's going to melt under the pressure unless the move up to 155 is going to be a big difference in his gas take. Maybe he was cutting a lot of weight, but Kirk historically doesn't do well against pressure, and he tends to get tired. And for Kirk to win this fight, he's going to have to get the takedowns and control on top. And early on, I could see Kirk potentially maybe winning the first round because he does have pretty good doubles and good back takes, great top control. And Ribovics, with his wild style, he comes forward, he does get up the takedowns pretty easily. I think Loic Radzhabov took him down like 9 or 10 times. So if Kirk could actually take him down, and Kirk has a more jiu-jitsu type ground game than Loic, where Loic wasn't really good at taking the back, or he wasn't good at holding down Ribovics, maybe Kirk will be. And if Kirk could get a takedown and control him in 2 out of 3 rounds, that could be a victory for him. But I feel like it's going to be maybe Kirk gets him down in the first round, holds him down for a couple minutes, maybe even gets to the back, and but he doesn't finish Ribovics, and then maybe Ribovics either scramble back up to his feet or scramble on top, have some success, and then I don't think that Kirk is going to be able to get another takedown and that top control on Ribovics to win the fight. So I feel like Ribovics, I just trust him a little bit more where he is in his career. He is coming off of a loss, but he was competitive against a guy that's like top 30-ish at lightweight. And Kirk is coming up in weight. He hasn't fought in over a year. He is coming off a loss. His one win in the UFC was a real controversial victory. So I feel like Ribovics is going to be able to survive the early grappling storm and then kind of take over the fight. And I'll say he gets the finish in the second or third round. But this is a close fight on the money line for a reason, because I think Ribovics is still, even though he has potential as a green guy, he needs to prove more, and I think he will by beating Kirk, but it's probably a pass on the money line. They probably have to see more from Ribovics, but I am going to pick him to get the victory here, and also he gets a finish in the later. And up next here, we got a flyweight fight. It's a kind of a low-level fight, but I'm looking forward to it, man, with Jesus Aguilar taking on Shannon Ross. And Jesus Aguilar is a hard-nosed wrestler with heavy ground and pound, and wrestling is a little sloppy, but he's relentless. He has good singles, and even though sometimes he could pull guys on top of him, he's a good scrambler and can usually scramble back up into another takedown or into top position. And when he gets on top, he likes to stand up an opponent's full guards and rain down hard punches, elbows. And his most dangerous weapon is his guillotine. He has great cardio too. And he should have the grappling edge here. His last fight, he went in there against Tatsuro, and Tyra's a different animal on the ground, so he kind of ran through Aguilar. But Shannon Ross, I don't think is going to have that element if it ends up being a grappling match. In terms of the striking, Aguilar's improving. He still stands pretty square. He's still hittable and kind of rudimentary, but he's gotten a little bit more bladed with his stance and started to move laterally a little more. He could switch stance, and then he'll dart in, dart out with 1-2s, overhands, and you'll throw some hard kicks, leg kicks, body kicks, and he does have the ability to turn up and brawl. He'll throw big, heavy hooks, and right now he has the chin to give some and take some. He's never been finished with strikes, whereas Shannon Ross, we're going to talk about in a minute, he has kind of a questionable chin. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's kill or be killed, and on the feet, he is the better striker. He carries his hands low and kind of tries to bait you, switch stance, and stay loose so he can land those pull crosses and counter hooks, nice combos, body head, and he has some power as well, especially for flyweight. He is willing to sit in the pocket and try to kind of manipulate distance and land pull counters, but he doesn't have the best defense or head movement, so he can be hittable and he can be hurt. He doesn't have the best chin. He is hard to finish because he is tough and he's not just going to let you get him out of there, but recently he's been taken out with strikes 2 times in a row, and in his last fight he got finished quick with the body shot, so it wasn't like he took a ton of damage, but on the Contender Series, it was a war, and he took a lot of damage in that fight. But I think Ross is the better striker. It's just his durability is worrying, and Aguilar, having that Mexican kind of tenacity and heart, he could go in there and make it a brawl, catch the chin of Ross, and just be the more durable, gritty guy. And Ross isn't much of a wrestler. I also haven't seen him face too many grapplers or wrestlers, really. His takedown defense looks okay. I saw a fight back in the day where Ashkan Mokhtarian took down Ross fairly easily in the clinch, and he held down Ross for a large portion of that fight, and Ross did get submitted by Steve Erceg, but more recently I've seen him stuff a few takedowns and haven't really seen him off his back in a while, and cardio for Ross is good. He pushes the pace, but honestly I kind of see this as a dog or pass. I don't have a lot of interest in the fight from a betting perspective. Ross is better on the feet, but he has a glass chin, and I don't really know how the wrestling or grappling is going to be. Aguilar pushes the wrestling more, and he has good chokes, but his wrestling is sloppy. It's nothing special. He could end up letting Ross on top, and I feel like Ross could take advantage if he can get into top position, but Aguilar is improving. He's younger. He's 27, whereas Ross is 34, which especially for flyweight is getting up there. He's coming off 2 losses in a row. He's traveling all the way from Australia to the U.S., which isn't easy either. And I feel like the over is a targetable play here just because Aguilar, if he wrestles, I don't think he's going to submit Ross or finish him on the ground at least early like he has some of these other guys. And the striking will be scary if you're on the over because both guys brawl. But I'm personally going to take Aguilar to win by decision in this fight. I just think he's going to be the little bit more tenacious of the two, and I think his grappling and wrestling is going to be a little bit more impactful than the striking of Ross, and I feel like Aguilar could also get the knockout if he just lands the right shot because I don't trust Ross's chin. So I'm going to go with Aguilar. And for this next fight, I'm pretty sure this one's going to be a mismatch with Cameron Simone taking on Terrence Mitchell. Simone, he's been very impressive. He's kept the train rolling since going to the UFC, 2-0. Shown a little bit inexperience, especially with the points he got taken from him in his last fight, but he brings it, unbeaten in 13 fights. He's finished the majority of his opponents. His last fight was only his second decision of his career, And he was expecting to fight Christian Rodriguez in what was a very interesting prospect versus prospect fight, but now he's getting a lesser short notice replacement in Terrence Mitchell. And he's a big favorite. I think he's going to get the job done here. Terrence Mitchell, he's 15-2. He's fighting out of Alaska. And no hate on Alaska, but man, anytime I see a fighter who fights and trains out of there, I get skeptical. They just don't have a good track record when it comes to MMA fighters. I mean, it's hard to get guys to want to go down and fight or train in Alaska. And with Terrence Mitchell, every single fight except one that he's had has been in Alaska. And the one fight that he's had outside of Alaska was in Vegas. And he fought on the Ultimate Fighter against Kai Kara-France. He got knocked out in 30 seconds. Since that loss to France, he's won 4 fights in a row. And all came in the first round. But it's going to be a much more difficult opponent to deal with. And Mitchell is already 33 years old, which is up there for 135. And he definitely is up against it with this matchup here. Terrence Mitchell, you can give him that he comes out fast. He's very aggressive. And he has 5 wins inside 60 seconds. He hasn't been outside the first round since 2014. His last 6 fights have all ended in round 1. And he's long, and he has some really nice kicks. He will throw some dangerous straight punches. He's fast, and basically, he's not very technical to me, but he uses his athleticism to overwhelm guys. He's very long and rangy, and he does have technical kicks, so he could kind of, if you're not ready for that aggressiveness early, you can get finished quick. But if you have that composure, which Simon does, and most UFC fighters are going to have, you can kind of wait for Mitchell to come in, and he leaves his chin right on a silver platter. He doesn't move his head. Very hittable guy. He has tall man defense, and I feel like Simon is just going to land a counter overhand, counter hook, and get him out of there. Simon, well-rounded, great cardio, durable. I just don't see Mitchell getting him out of there with a kick or a fluky shot. I feel like Simon's going to knock him out early in the first round. I think this is a big mismatch, personally. I don't think Mitchell has much of a chance here. So, I'm going with Cameron Simon via first-round finish. And up next, we got a good one here, man. 2 guys that like to go out there and brawl, with Vitor Petrino taking on Marcin Prachnio. And I feel like we learned a lot about Vitor Petrino in his UFC debut. His gas tank was on point, and he held and maintained his power for 3 rounds very well. So that was very good to see. I mean, I thought his cardio, especially for 205, was exceptional. His fight IQ was a little bit, he was wrestling a lot, where I thought he was way better on the feet. I don't know why he was trying to push the wrestling, but outside of that, I was impressed. I mean, the guy is really athletic. He has that Brazilian style where he's very aggressive, comes forward. He has a really nasty left hook and one-punch knockout power in both his left and right hand. He's an okay kicker. He will get wild and throw wide, so you do have to worry about him getting knocked out, but right now he's undefeated. He has a good chin, and usually he's the one doing the knockout. And Marcin Prachnio isn't going to bring him that takedown threat, so that's something that I think Petrino's going to like, and hopefully it opens his style up and game plan up to more just be a free-flowing, striking-only type of battle. And I feel like Marcin Prachnio on the other side, he has that karate background, and he does a good job early. I feel like he is very defensively responsible. He has good defense, hands high, good kicks, keeps the distance well, and can pick his shots and kind of stick and move with that karate style. And he has the speed to do it as well as the technicality. But as fights go on, he gets tired and he becomes a little bit more hittable and kind of loose. And I feel like Petrino proving that he can maintain his power through 3 rounds is the reason why I think Petrino's going to be able to get the knockout in the later rounds. I think in that second or third round, Prachnio's going to start to brawl more and be a little bit more open, a little bit more hittable. I don't think he's going to have that takedown threat or be able to mix it up either, so it's not like he can not strike with them once he gets tired. The openings are going to be there, and I think that Petrino is unforgiving, man. When he lands clean. It's going to be game over. Prachnio's chin has been questionable as well, regardless of the power of Petrino. So I think when you couple that with Petrino being a power puncher, it's going to be Petrino winning by knockout. And the props are kind of ridiculous. I mean, I saw Petrino win inside the distance like minus 160. there's no value in that. But I think Petrino's going to get the job done. It's a little bit of a fight where you have to be kind of worried just because Petrino does not have a lot of experience, and Prochnio is a good striker, so it could end up being close, especially if it gets later and or goes to decision. But I think Petrino's going to get the job done inside the distance and find that chin. I'll say he gets the second round knockout. And for this next one, we got Tatsuro Taira. He's looking to continue his ascent, move to 14-0. He's taking on a tough Mexican in Edgar Chairez. And man, I haven't seen this many minus 1,000s or higher than minus 1,000s in one card in a long time, or if ever, in the UFC that I can remember. I mean, Tyra's like a minus 1,100, and a couple other people are too, but Tyra's a huge favorite in this fight. And Chairez, he's making his UFC debut. Tyra's already had a few fights in the UFC. He's undefeated in the UFC, undefeated in general, and he's looked really good. Basically, dominated all his opponents. He had a semi-competitive fight with CJ Vergara, but he ended up getting him out of there. And when you look at the him training recently, he was supposed to fight Clayton Rodriguez. That fight didn't happen, so he should be in shape and should be ready to go. I don't know how long Chairez has been getting ready. And style-wise, Edgar, he's like a long boxer. He throws pretty good combos. He's athletic. But his wrestling and grappling, I just don't think are on that level. And this isn't going to be a long breakdown for me with Taira. He is improving his striking. I think his striking is a little bit needs improvement. But his timing is really good. He's long. He does a good job of blending in clinch attacks. And he's really strong in the clinch. And then his wrestling and grappling are kind of overpowering. And I feel like in this fight, he's going to have a big advantage there. Chairez has been submitted a few times already in his career. And I'm going to say Taira submits him in the first or the second round in this fight. Man, this is a tough one for me, man. This is a rematch. These guys just fought a few months ago. It was a draw. And I went against the grain that time. I picked Alonzo Menifield to win that fight. He was a pretty big underdog in that matchup. But now it's basically an even money fight as they had a draw in their last one. And really, Menifield kind of screwed the pooch in that one, man. Like, he should have won that fight. He almost finished him multiple times with strikes and probably should have got him out of there. He just didn't have the composure to quite land those right shots when he had him in big trouble. And he also got a point taken away. So that point taken away is what made the fight a draw. So Menifield in the first round easily could have knocked him out. And then he should have won a decision, but he got a point taken away from grabbing the cage. So this fight really shouldn't be a rematch. Menifield should have won and progressed in his career. And now they're having to do it again. So that's very kind of nerve-wracking for me because you have to wonder how Menifield feels about that. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a interesting fight. And Jimmy Crute, I think he has another chance to kind of rewrite this fight. And he found the formula in the end. Like, the third round, he dominated when he got the wrestling going. And it's basically a wrestler versus grappler, or wrestler versus striker in this fight, even though I think Menifield has the wrestling to compete with Crute, and Crute doesn't have the striking to compete with Menifield. When Crute gets it to the ground and gets on top, he dominates, and on the feet, Menifield is just way better than Crute is. Crute, he has that chin-first style, comes forward, just way too hittable, and Menifield's a powerhouse. He was just teeing off with the jab. He was landing all the right hands he was throwing, and just had Crute hurt on multiple occasions. He was way too fast for him. He was too explosive, and Crute was really struggling to close that distance and just getting hammered, man. But he hung in there, and when he got the takedowns, he was able to control and really kind of dominate the top position. He didn't get close to finishing or anything like that, but Menifield never got close to getting up. But Menifield did show, like in the second round, he stuffed a lot of takedowns. He was able to sprawl, and if he can defend the takedowns, he's going to win this fight. And really, it just comes down to Jimmy Crute as the grit and grappling edge, and he's going to shoot 100 takedowns and, try to get it to the ground if he has to, need be. And once he gets it to the ground, he can control and ride it out on top. and Menifield has to come in shape, ready to defend the takedown, just be a little bit more composed on the feet, find your shots, and if you could sprawl and brawl, you're going to knock this guy out or you're going to win a very easy decision. So, man, I mean, trusting Alonzo Menifield's fight IQ, I think is like, I don't know. I mean, it's horrible, but I just don't like Jimmy Crute, his fighting style. I don't like that he's coming back so fast. He's like coming back 5 months after that last fight. They took a lot of damage in that fight, or Crute took a lot of damage, not really Menifield. And I'm going to say Menifield wins by decision or wins by first round knockout, but really no confidence in this one. I trusted Menifield more in the first fight for some reason, and now after seeing him even do well in the first one, it's just something to tell me probably it's a pass, but I'm going to go with Menifield as the pick. I'm going to say he'll win by decision. And up next year, man, I'm excited for this one. We got Yazmin Jaruegui. She's taking on Denise Gomes, and I'm going to say it, some women's fights for me are a drag, but this fight, man, this is a good fight. I'm a big fan of Yazmin and her style. I feel like she could potentially move up quick in the division, and Denise Gomes is someone that's going to match her style and make for a really, really fun fight because she's going to come forward and try to make it a brawl, and I think Jaruegui's just going to light her up, man. I think she's going to have a kind of a showing out party here. I think she's going to get the finish, and when you look at how they match up, Denise Gomes, has that shoot box style. She's very, very tough, durable, comes forward, and she has good Muay Thai. She has those nice kicks. She will try to kind of loop those big overhands and hooks and land big power. She does have power, and we did see Jaruegui get knocked down in her last fight, so that is something that where if Denise Gomes can land clean, maybe she could hurt her. But I think Estela Nunes was just a lot faster than Denise Gomes, and she was able to kind of catch Jaruegui coming in, where with this fight, Denise Gomes is going to meet Jaruegui in the pocket, and it's going to be more of a pocket battle, and there I feel like Jaruegui is just way more technical. She throws really nice combinations, body head. She has good in and out movement. Her defense is much more on point than Gomes. She throws straighter, cleaner shots. Gomes is throwing a lot of looping punches, and in terms of the wrestling and grappling, I feel like Jaruegui has the better wrestling, and her grappling's on point too. And Denise Gomes, she got out-grappled by Loma Lukbunmi, so I don't really envision her, unless she just catches like a submission in a transition or something kind of, not fluky, but just kind of a low percentage finish. I don't see her finishing Jaruegui on the ground or having a lot of success there. I don't think she can take her down. And I just feel like Gomes kind of comes right in the style that Jaruegui likes to do. She likes to be in the pocket, and she's just not as technical. She's tough, and she has power. And against a lot of girls, you're not going to see that technicality of Yazmin. So you can use your looping shots, and you can use your durability and your power to kind of wear girls down and eventually finish them off, like we saw with Bruna Brazil. But Yazmin, that's not going to happen in this fight. I think Yazmin's going to wear out Denise. She's going to land a lot of combinations, and ultimately I think she's going to finish her within 3 rounds. So I'm going to go with Jaruegui via late second round finish via TKO. And with this next fight, I'm going to be honest, I didn't have a ton of time to look into this Josiah Harrell guy, but I watched a couple of his fights, and it seems like he's like a wrestler boxer with some punching power, but I just feel like Jack Della's on another level. I don't really have a lot to say about this fight, honestly. I mean, Jack Della was going to fight. I mean, I wish he was going to fight like a Buckley or one of those other replacements that we would have saw him fight. But, the UFC went with Josiah Harrell, the cheap route, So, I just feel like Harrell, he's not going to be able to take down Jack Della, where I think that's the way to beat him at this point, especially with Jack Della getting ready for guys like a guy like Sean Brady. That his wrestling defense, and he's going to be having trained grappling, and he's not going to let Harrell just hold him against a cage, or he's not going to get taken down by him either. And on the feet, I just think it's a big mismatch. Harrell has the power, so it kind of reminds me of like the Pete Rodriguez versus Jack Della fight, where Jack Della, he has to be a little bit careful and weary of Harrell just landing that clean shot on him. But at the end of the day, it's like Jack Della is very skilled. He's very technical. He is defensive minded. He picks his shots well. He has power. And I don't see him getting bombed out of there by a short notice debutant that doesn't have much of a background when Jack Della is like a minus 2,000 favorite. So short and sweet, but I'm going to go with Jack Della. I'm going to say he gets the finish via first round KO TKO. And closing out the prelims, we got the end of a legendary career with Robbie Lawler calling it quits after this fight where he's taking on Niko Price. And man, I mean, what better dance partner can you ask for than a guy like Niko Price for Robbie Lawler's last fight? Definitely a violence fight right here. And Robbie, he's basically been fighting one time a year for a few years now, and he's fought on this International Fight Week type of stage. So he's going to be right at home, fighting again for the first time in about a year. Niko Price, he knocked some rust off against Phil Rowe. He was coming off a long layoff where he had some knee injuries and things like that. And, hopefully now he's a little bit more recovered than he was in the Phil Rowe fight. But, man, I mean, this is an excellent matchup on paper. Obviously, both guys have power. Both guys have some sick knockouts. And, both guys are known to go in there and go to war. So, honestly, I think this is a great matchup for Robbie Lawler's last fight. You look at Robbie Lawler's last match with Bryan Barberena, I thought that was an awesome fight, man. I mean, Bryan Barberena, he isn't the most athletic guy. He isn't the most powerful guy. But his inside fighting is some of the best in the division at 170, bar none. I mean, the guy has great punching combinations, very slick, picks his shots well, great elbows. And Robbie Lawler went in there with him, and he matched him, man. I mean, he was beating his ass with the jab. He was hammering him to the body, coming up to the head. Looked really fast. He was slipping, catching punches. And, man, I mean, Robbie was on point in that fight. And eventually he ended up getting caught with that barrage of elbows and taken out. But he looked good, and he looks good again in this one. And he's getting a guy that doesn't have that inside fighting. I mean, if they're going to be on the inside, that's going to be Robbie Lawler all day. Unless Niko Price can land like a one-shot, one-hitter-quitter KO. If they're on the inside and they're exchanging in that boxing range, I see Robbie Lawler landing that left hook over and over. I think he's going to be able to go to the body. I think he's going to be able to land clean over the top. And Niko just doesn't have that technicality or preciseness in the boxing to compete with Robbie Lawler at all. And ultimately, man, I know Niko's a lot younger, and obviously, like, he hasn't been fighting since 2001. He didn't have the wear and tear of Robbie. I'm not going to try to say that, but I don't like the spot in the career where Niko's at either. Niko's coming off some losses. He hasn't been active because of injuries. Came back against Phil Rowe. He had 2 knee braces on. He wasn't kicking. He didn't have the same volume that he did in previous fights. And I felt like he was just very slow and awkward. And that was a bad fight from both guys, in my opinion, Phil Rowe and Niko. And obviously, I mean, there's some outside factors where maybe Robbie doesn't show up in this one. But if he comes in like he did against Barberena, I think he has a really good chance to win, because I just don't think Niko has that kicking ability that he used to, where in the past he was a lot more dangerous on the outside. Like, he had the movement where he could move a little bit better. He was throwing front kicks and things like that from the outside, and he could close the distance with some nice straight shot blitz attacks. But I didn't see that from him in his last fight. I feel like a lot of that outside fighting, the kicks and the explosion and speed are gone with the injuries. And he's not a young guy either. And one thing I don't really like about Niko that kind of I feel stunned in his career majorly is he was with MMA Masters, which was a great gym, and he decided to branch off, make his own gym, and now he's his own head coach, and I think he has a few other coaches with him, but I don't know, man. I just don't trust Niko. I think if Niko wrestled, held Robbie against the fence, and kind of made it a boring fight, then he could kind of steal it. But I don't think he's going to have success taking Robbie down. Robbie has improved his wrestling defense over the years a lot, especially against the cage, and he works with a lot of wrestlers at Kill Cliff, so that's kind of something that I think is going to be hard for Niko to do, but could maybe hold him against the fence. It's just, I don't think Niko's going to have that in him, man. Niko likes to go in there and brawl. He likes to entertain for the fans. He's fighting a legend here, and I'm going with Robbie, man. I'm going to say Robbie gets the second round knockout in this one. I think Niko, I just don't trust him right now, and I'm not like super trustworthy on the Robbie side either, but I liked what I saw last from Robbie a lot more than what I saw from Niko. So I'm going with Robbie Lawler in this one to get the win and go out in the sunset on a positive note. And moving on the card, we got Bo Nickal taking on Val Woodburn to kick off the main card. And this was supposed to be Bo Nickal versus Tresean Gore. So honestly, man, I mean, it's like it's going to be Tresean, it's going to be this guy. They just need a warm body for Bo Nickal to go in there and show off against. I mean, it didn't really matter who his opponent was, and I don't really care if it's Tresean Gore or Val Woodburn. I mean, Val Woodburn has a cooler name, so maybe he should be the guy in this spot. I mean, it doesn't really matter, you know, but when you're looking at Woodburn, I honestly think he's a tougher fight because Tresean Gore, I think, is kind of like a I don't know. I don't want to say it. It's like hard to say it, but I think that he kind of is like a mental midget a little bit. Like just the way that he acted on the Tough House and how he fought against like Brian Battle, and I feel like he wouldn't have done well with this type of pressure. That's just my opinion. But Val Woodburn, I've heard, you know, some people talk about him out here in Vegas, and listen to his fight week, his media day yesterday, and I think he's a lot more of an even keel, you know, guy that has more confidence in himself, and I think that he's going to go out there and fight his fight, whether it's going to be leading to a victory or not. That's, you know, still up for debate, but I think he's going to be more ready to go on fight night than Tresean even would have been, even though Tresean has the higher profile, more UFC experience and all that. But Bo Nickal, obviously we all know he's one of the best wrestlers in MMA, if not the best, one of the best wrestling prospects to ever cross over, and he combines that with some knockout power, great athleticism, decent jiu-jitsu, and his confidence is through the roof. Young guy, so every time we see him, he's going to be improving, and he's training with ATT, so he's getting really, really high-level training in. And Val Woodburn, I mean, the guy, he was going to fight on the Contender Series a couple months, I think in like late August. And he's short, stocky guy. He's kind of like a fire hydrant kind of fighter. So those guys are always hard to take down. So it's not necessarily the easiest matchup. And he used to be at Fusion XL, which that gym has some of the best grapplers. Jacare Souza, they got Rodolfo Vieira, and now he's with Extreme Couture, so they got some of the best wrestlers. So, man, I mean, he's positioned himself with some good camps, and he's a very explosive guy with knockout power, and he's shown pretty good takedown defense against the cage, but I've seen multiple guys put him against the fence and hold him there. And if he's allowing Bo Nickal to get into that position, I don't think he's going to stop the takedowns, man. And I haven't seen him off of his back at all. So it's just hard. It's hard to be, like, especially with this line. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, minus 2,500. It's like, how good is Woodburn going to be off of his back? You know, is he going to be like Derek Lewis, like, just get up type of guy? Because he is a power. He looks like a powerhouse. But against Bo Nickal, it's like this guy knows how to ride you, man, like no other, no homo. And he's gonna win, man. I don't know. I'm trying to talk my way into thinking like Val Woodburn has any chance whatsoever, but it's like, nah, man. I think Bo Nickal's gonna get that finish, but it's just like there's nothing to know about Woodburn really, like in certain positions. So we're gonna see, but I'm going to say Bo Nickal. I'll say he gets the first round sub. And continuing through the main card, we got a great fight here with Jalin Turner taking on Dan Hooker. Kind of a mirror match to me. I mean, these guys fight very similar. They're both very tall for the weight. They're long. They like to come forward. They stand tall. They like to look for the straight shots. And then they'll also look for those knees up the middle. They are a little bit kind of slow, plotty, and deliberate, even though I think Turner is a lot faster when he goes, a lot more explosive, but they both kind of like to stand tall and kind of plot in a range a little bit, and they use their weapons, their long-range weapons, really well, and they also have good front chokes. So they have similar styles, but obviously Hooker, he's been in the UFC for a long time, and he's coming off a win over Claudio Puelles, but he's still kind of trying to get back on the right track in his career. He, at one point, when he fought Poirier, was like very, very close to winning the title or to getting a title fight. And now it's like he fell back a lot and moving back to lightweight. He got the win over Puelles. And now if he can beat Jalin Turner, he'll be back in the mix a little bit. He'll be back in the top 10 mix, and he can maybe get back into some more high-profile fights. But this is the pivotal fight for Dan Hooker. I mean, he has to win this one if he wants to continue on and, have a chance at kind of title hopes or main event fights again. And Turner, he's still trying to get over that hump. I mean, he has had some really, really, really good performances, like where he finished Brad Riddell in, 2 minutes, took him out. And even his last fight with Game Rot, I mean, Gamer gave him some trouble with the wrestling, but Jalin Turner easily could have won that fight. He did a lot of damage on the feet, and he was able to show some big improvements with his takedown defense, with his get-ups, and really impressive from Jalin Turner in that fight. But he's getting a way different matchup here, but he still lost that one, is what I'm trying to say, against Gamrot, and he hasn't gotten that kind of stamp victory, and this would be it here. Beating Dan Hooker, main card of a pay-per-view, he could ask for a top 5 guy next once again. So it's a big fight for Turner, big fight for Hooker, and like I said, they're both similar, but I feel like Turner, he has the length advantage, and I think he's the more explosive, dynamic striker. I think he's able to close the distance better. He has better kicks from the outside, faster kicks. I think his hands are faster. I feel like he has the more power. And both guys, I question their durability at this point. Hooker used to be a hammer, man, like super, super hard to finish. But he has gotten knocked out in the first round in 2 of his last 4 fights. And Jalin Turner, I mean, not a lot of people talk about this anymore. But earlier in his career, like even when he came into the UFC, he fought Luque, he had some bad knockout losses, like pretty bad. He's been knocked out as an amateur too. He's been knocked out 4 or 5 times. So if you could touch him right on the chin, you could put Turner out. So that's always something you got to worry about. Like, that doesn't really go away. So I feel like Hooker has a chance to knock Turner out if he can land the right shot. But I can't trust Hooker at this point in his career against a guy I feel like is improving, confident, and you could say is on like a 6-fight win streak if he would have gotten the nod against Gamrot. I just think Turner is probably going to be able to catch him early and knock him out. Hooker kind of starts slow sometimes. And we saw the Arnold Allen fight. Arnold caught him and kind of blitzed him and was able to get him out of there. And I think Turner can do the same thing. So I'm going with Jalin Turner via first round finish. And I think he's going to kind of showcase that he is ready for that next level. And up next, we got another guy that's kind of turned into a staple of these International Fight Week cards with Robert Whittaker. Both these guys actually fought on the last International Fight Week card. Whittaker, he fought Israel in the main event, and I believe, maybe Rob didn't fight Israel, or maybe he wasn't. I know he did 2 years ago, maybe that was the main event. I'm second guessing myself now, but and then Dricus, I know he fought Tavares on International Fight Week 1 year. So I know these guys have both competed during this week, and it's a big week, and obviously they like to showcase these international talents. And this is a great fight. I mean, I think a lot of people are kind of lowballing Dricus du Plessis and his chances to win this one. I think he has a lot better chance to win this fight than like Marvin Vettori or some of these other opponents that are regarded as high level that Whittaker has defeated, because he has that one-shot knockout ability and he has a submission threat as well. So du Plessis, I think, is a dangerous guy, but it's obvious why Whittaker is such a favorite, because technically I think Whittaker has a tremendous advantage. Du Plessis, opportunistic finisher, doesn't usually win a lot of minutes in his fights, and he can mix it up. He's a big body, he's durable, and I think his conditioning is better than people give it credit for, and then he has one-punch knockout power, and he can grapple. So he's a well-rounded guy that has the durability and cardio to bring it all the whole full 15. But his striking, he has a really nice sneaky left hook. That's what Rob has to really be aware of. And then you'll throw some blitz attacks that are dangerous, and he has powerful kicks. But his defense, he tends to shell up and can be really awkward at times with his defense. And I think the feints and the kicks of Whittaker are going to really give Dricus a lot of trouble, because I think Dricus is going to struggle with the feints quite a bit. I think Whittaker is going to have him guessing, and I believe that du Plessis is also going to have some issues getting past the kicks of Whittaker. So I think that du Plessis has to be able to get in there and land that check hook or the big right hand and damage Whittaker, hurt him. And I think Whittaker is just going to be looking to do what he always does, kind of fencing style, in and out, point fight with the kicks, look for the big power lead hook or the right hand, and just keep it, that Rob Whittaker style. And I don't think du Plessis is going to take him down. I mean, Whittaker's notorious for having some of the best takedown defense in the history of the sport. And I think Whittaker has the better grappling. Ultimately, I think he has the cardio experience. And du Plessis, though, one thing about him that I think is a good point is he's not a defeated guy like some of these guys that Rob has been fighting. Like, Rob has fought a lot of the guys that Israel beat. So Israel beat him, then they'll fight Rob and try to work their way back up type of thing. And he did beat a guy like Jared Cannonier on the way up, so that was a big victory. But he hasn't really halted the momentum of a lot of guys in that way. And du Plessis on a streak where he has the confidence, the momentum. So du Plessis has that going for him. Like, he's going to come in here, and I think he's going to be very competitive early. But I think unless he could finish Rob in the first 5 to 8 minutes, I think Rob's going to get his groove and kind of figure out du Plessis and really start to really beat him pretty easily, kind of clinic him. So I'm going with Rob via a clinical decision. But du Plessis, I think, is live in that first 7-8 minutes to get the knockout finish. So I don't count du Plessis out, but I just feel like Rob is too technical. Once he, finds his range, he's going to get the feints and kicks going. He's going to shut down the takedowns of du Plessis, and I think he's just going to be able to kind of outpoint him on the outside, beat him up, and be the cleaner striker at range, faster guy, more technical. So Robert Whittaker by decision. And in the co-main event, we got the first of the 2 title fights on the card, with Brandon Moreno defending his UFC flyweight title against Alexandre Pantoja. And this is another rematch, trilogy actually. Brandon Moreno just can't get away from fighting the same guys he's fought before. He fought Davison 4 times in a row. Then his last fight, he fought Kai Kara for the 2nd time. Now he's fighting Pantoja for the 3rd time. So he's real familiar with a lot of guys that he's fought. And most of the time, it's him on the right end of it. Like, he has more wins over Davison than Davison has over him. He's 2-0 against Kai Kara. But Pantoja is 2-0 against the champ. So that gives a different dynamic to this fight and a very interesting storyline coming into it, because Pantoja has his number, at least from what we've seen so far. But one thing about it is kind of like the old boxing thing. I don't even think it was done on purpose, but Pantoja, he's kind of getting weighted out. Like, he's 33 now. The first time that Davison and Brandon fought, I think Pantoja was like 29, and he was ready for a title fight then. Since then, he's taken out a couple more top contenders, and it doesn't look like he's losing a step, but 33 years old is definitely getting up there for flyweight, and Moreno's 29. He's still in the peak or kind of peaking in his career at this moment, and I think that's a big deal. I mean, I think if they would have fought a few years ago, Pantoja probably would have had a way better chance to win the belt. And the line is kind of weird. Like, obviously, Moreno is 0-2, but he's a minus 190 favorite. I mean, how often do you see that? The guy that's lost twice is a pretty significant favorite over the person that defeated them 2 times in a row. But the last time that they fought was 5 years ago, so that definitely needs mentioning. And the venue and where they're fighting at, this is going to be a big Brandon Moreno crowd. All the other times they were fighting, they were still great fighters. They were elite in the weight class, but it was a throwaway fight on the card. And now they're in a showcase spot. Everyone is going to be there for Moreno. It's going to be a different atmosphere, a different vibe. It's going to be the biggest fight of Pantoja's career by far. And I don't necessarily think that's something that's going to get to Pantoja. He's been fighting since 2007. He's a super vet, and he deserves to be in this moment, and I think he's going to be ready for it. I think it's going to be an exceptional fight. And the way these two guys match up, if you watch the first fights, on the feet, I definitely think Pantoja has the edge, even now. Like, Pantoja, he has crisper hands. Like, he throws cleaner straight shots. His jab is killer. It really works Moreno over. He has nice straight punches, clean. He is fast, and Moreno loops a lot of shots. He's gotten a lot better throwing straight down the pipe, but he's still a little bit of a looper, wide punching, hooks, and Pantoja's just a little faster to the target. And the other thing about it is Pantoja is that durability, man. I mean, the guy can eat punches like cupcakes, and then he can return with big power. He has power in his hands too. So if he makes it a war, which Moreno likes to do with a lot of guys, and a lot of guys will back down to Moreno in those wars because Moreno has the durability as well, and he also has the output. And some guys, they could tag him early and almost get him out of there like Figueiredo, but then they can't match the pace, and then he can start melting them. Or some guys, they just can't take that relentlessness. They don't have the power to back Moreno off, but Pantoja has the durability, and he is willing to sit in there and sit in the fire and match that kind of fight. So it makes it a lot harder on the feet for Moreno. But one thing that Brandon Moreno, I think, is going to be the difference in this fight and in his improvements is in the wrestling. I think that a lot of people are talking about his striking has gotten better, and he's going to be able to compete on the feet a lot more with Pantoja. And I think in the later rounds, that's true. But I think if he wants to win this fight, it's going to be through using his wrestling, which he's been using a lot more in recent fights. And Pantoja's a beast on the ground. The guy has 6 scrambles, is very good jiu-jitsu. He takes the back really, really well. So Moreno has to be aware of that. And even early on, if Pantoja gets into an advantageous position or two, just don't panic, stay composed, and know that it's a 5-round fight. And ultimately, I think that if Moreno tries to make it a striking fight in this one, Pantoja is just going to eat him up again. I think he's going to be able to win in the brawls. I think he's going to be able to use his jab to control the distance and kind of just be the better striker on the feet. But if Moreno can mix in the takedowns, which I believe he can do, then I see him getting Pantoja tired. And I think Pantoja early on could be a handful with the scrambles, moving around on the ground. But as the fight goes on, I think Moreno could start to hold him down a lot more. I think Moreno could start to open up with the striking because Pantoja's going to be tired. We saw the fight between Pantoja and Askar Askarov, and I don't think Moreno's obviously on that same level of wrestling as Askar, but Pantoja got very tired in that fight. He was labored, and he started to get hit in the 3rd round with clean shots from Askar. And this is a 5-round fight. I think that benefits Moreno pretty significantly. And ultimately, I think that Pantoja is going to be real tough early. I think he might win the first round, maybe even the second round, and you could catch Moreno at real good live odds. But I feel like you'll start to see a momentum shift some point in the second round where Moreno's wrestling is going to become more effective, and you're going to see Pantoja start to breathe heavy, get tired. And I think Pantoja is going to stick in there and stay in it because I think he has really wanted this opportunity for a long time, and I think he's going to be very, very, very in there with his will to win and everything like that. But I just feel like he's getting a wilt away cardiovascularly, and we're going to see Moreno in those championship rounds show that championship experience. And I got Moreno winning 49-46, maybe 48-47, and avenging those two previous losses to Pantoja, getting the victory, and I believe getting his first ever title defense. I suppose his last fight, you could argue, was a title defense because he was the interim champion, but more of like a unification where he unified the belt. And now he's going for his first title defense because the first time he won the belt, he lost it right away to Figueiredo. So Moreno, I'm going to pick him to win here by decision.
And man, here we go. We got the main event. Alexandre Volkanovski taking on Yair Rodriguez. And I love this fight. I think people are sleeping on this fight. I think people are acting like Volkanovski's a lock, which I think is crazy, man. Like, how could you count out Yair in any fight? Like, this guy is a fucking freak, man. Like, I always, find it strange, some of the hate that Yair gets. Like, now I'm seeing people are saying, he went out the USADA testing pool to take EPO. It's like, dude, the motherfucker trains in Mexico City. Like, you don't think he's gonna have cardio? Like, what Mexican guy that trains in Mexico City has bad cardio? Like, oh, he gasses out. This Mexican, like, that doesn't happen, man. The guy is gonna have cardio, and I just think that's crazy. But I don't know why a lot of people count Yair on a lot of fights, and he's a huge underdog in this one, and I feel like he's probably the hardest matchup for Volkanovski that you could give him. I mean, this is a great fight. Volkanovski is coming in off that loss to Islam, where it was an extremely competitive fight, so he gained a lot of fans and notoriety, even more than he had before off that fight. But it's such a different matchup. It's almost like not even comparable to this one. But it's still, something to talk about. It's something to praise Volkanovski about, even though it's a loss. He went up in a weight class, tested himself, and almost came away a double champ. But now he's coming back down to handle business in his own weight, which it's always hard. I mean, you saw Volkanovski put on weight. Like, he even said it. Like, he got bigger. He added muscle to fight at 55s. And now he's coming back down to 45. So that's obviously something that's going to be affecting you. You got to make your body smaller again, cut the weight. And we're going to see how he reacts to all that. But I definitely feel like Yair is a very, very live underdog in this fight. On the feet, and I could sound blasphemous saying this, like maybe I'll be completely wrong on fight night, but I think Yair's going to dominate on the feet. I feel like he's going to have a huge advantage. I'm not saying Volkanovski won't maybe have some moments, but we have never seen, who's the best kicker that Volkanovski's fought? Like, all the guys that he's fought are, he fought a lot of guys that early on in his run, he fought a lot of wrestlers, grapplers that wanted to try to take him down. And then I guess he did fight Aldo. I guess that's the best kicker that we've seen him fight. But we all know Aldo, in his later run and at featherweight, at bantamweight, he wasn't kicking nearly as much as he used to. And Max Holloway, he's not really known as much of a kicker. He's known as primarily a boxer. In the second fight with Volk, he came out, and I don't know why he didn't do it. In the second fight, I don't know why he didn't do it in the third fight. But he was kicking, man, and he dropped Volkanovski with the head kick. He was landing a lot of body kicks, and those kicks really gave Volkanovski a lot of issues. And I think Yair is one of the best strikers, in the UFC, in the history of the UFC. Just his craftiness is crazy, man. You see the guy, the way he evades punches sometimes, it's like he's literally millimeters away, and it's like a matrix. He's evading it, the guy's a freak on the feet. When you pressure him, he's throwing these up elbows and flying knees, spinning attacks. You never know which angle he's going to come from, what strike he's going to throw. And I think he's going to be moving. He has to move side to side lateral, use his footwork, his kicks, his speed, straight punches. When they get into, boxing range, he needs to sit down, throw 3, 4, 5 shots in combination. And we saw Volkanovski get sit down with some 1-2s in his last fight from that southpaw stance. And Yair could go southpaw, throw some 1-2s. And I feel like people are expecting Volkanovski to come in here and like turn into a D1 wrestler with Craig Jones grappling efficiency on the ground. But it's like, when's the last time we saw Volkanovski really hold someone down and beat him in that way? Like, you have to go back like 5-6 years facing a completely different style. I think he's gonna find it hard to close that distance and just shoot a double or put Yair against the cage and take him down. Like, I don't see it being that easy. Like, I really don't. Like, I think people are like going back to the Frankie Edgar versus Yair fight, and like that fight was like long time ago, man. Like, it's like you gotta kind of, people evolve, and I think on the feet, Yair's just going to be too slick, like, with his footwork, and he's going to be able to land from long range, which other opponents of Volkanovski didn't have the ability to do quite as well. And I think in the pocket, he's so tricky, man, and it's going to be scary to exchange on the inside. But Alex, like, obviously Alex has extremely good feints, and his speed is elite. Like, if he can use his feints and his feet to get inside, land some punches, and then kind of get to the body lock, get a takedown or two. If he gets on top of Yair and can pass Yair's guard, it could be a dominant performance and another easy showing for Alex. And I could look completely wrong in talking about how the striking is going to be competitive because, Yair's going to let him get inside and use his punches to get the takedown, and then you'll be thinking about it the whole fight, and it'll just be an Alex Volkanovski runaway again. But I don't know, man. I've been pretty good at picking, like, when I pick a major upset in a title fight. I've had a pretty good track record of that, and a lot of it, to me, it's like you gotta feel the vibe of the guy coming in, and like I think Yair is extremely confident, extremely tuned on, ready to go, and I think that I'm going to go with Yair Rodriguez by knockout in this one. I feel like a lot of people are going to be very, very shocked at the result after fight night in this one because I think, he's going to get 3rd, 4th round KO, TKO. I think he's going to dethrone Volkanovski. Personally, I just really feel like it's just going to be a change into the guard here, man. So I'm going with Yair Rodriguez, getting the job done in this one, pulling off a major upset, and taking out Alexandre Volkanovski, the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now, and becoming the undisputed champion. So I think Mexico is going to have something even more to celebrate, and I'm going with Yair Rodriguez, man. I just don't think Alex is going to turn into a wrestler overnight, and I think he's going to strike with Yair. I think he's going to be confident in his striking, which rightfully so, and I feel like he's not going to take Yair seriously. I think he's thinking, I just had a close fight with Islam. I'm number 1 pound for pound. And I think it's going to bite him, man. I'm going with Yair. I'm going to say he knocks him out, becomes the new champ. So Yair Rodriguez, 3rd round KO, TKO. And as far as the parlay of the week goes, I'm going to go with Cameron Simone to beat Terrence Mitchell. Never trust an Alaskan, in MMA. And I feel like Simone is just going to take advantage of Mitchell's recklessness, knock him out in the first round. So going to add Simone to the parlay. I'm going to go with Tyra. Edgar Chairez, short notice guy. He is someone that is been submitted in the past. I think it's going to be a pretty simple fight for Tyra to use his striking to get the takedown and then eventually probably get that submission. And then finally, I'm going to go with Yazmin Jaruegui. I think it's going to be a lot of inside fighting, and I feel like Jaruegui has way better inside in and out movement. I think her striking is a lot tighter in the pocket. I think she throws better combinations. I think she's going to knock Gomes out or TKO her. So that's going to be the part of the week, those 3 fighters. And thanks for watching, guys. If you watch the full card breakdown and predictions video, I do breakdown and predictions every week. And if you want to get access to my bets this week for free, I have a free trial going on, patreon.com/MMAPredictionGuru. I'm one of the best bettors on Bet MMA Tips and give out some of the best predictions. So definitely advise you guys to go over there and check out some very, very good free content this week. And you'll probably have some access to some bets next week, as well as you'll have a full 7-day free trial. So go sign up over there, support the channel, make yourself some money, and let's have a great time watching the fights this weekend. I'm going to be there live. If you're going to be at International Fight Week, hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on the comments down below. Met up with a couple people last year. Hopefully we'll be able to do the same this year. It was a lot of fun. So, yeah, man, make sure to comment down below. Put some likes down below. Stay tuned to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys later.